Howdy folks. Now that Ramp 2025 is wrapped up, I'm going to try and play my way through every map region by region and give my thoughts on each map as I go. I'm not going to rate these by quality because Ramp is a project meant to be inclusive of newcomers and mapping veterans alike. I'll give each map a rating on difficulty and a category under style, which is just an indication of whether it's more of a classic vanilla Doom experience, a slaughter map, or something more bespoke and experimental. These scores are of course my interpretation and I am no authority on the matter. First up the rank is the Underworld by the TerraEssence. This sprawling Hellish map began with some light platforming over a lava-filled cave and soon diverged into a sprawling semi-linear facility filled with mid-tier monsters. The multiple varied texture choices made this map feel a little disjointed and unconnected at times, however the map often converged back on itself and made good use of its space. This map's monster and weapon progression was quite standard, and it stayed fairly loyal to the vanilla stylings of classic Doom maps, up until the final area, which culminated in a 3-phased battle royale which threw all of Hell's offerings at your head first, but also provided plenty of resources with which you would blow them away. It's a solid classical way to start the proceedings. I'll give this map around a 5 in difficulty, and I would say the style is under classic. Next up was Too Far Gone by Hiron or Hiron, and let me tell you, going into this one from the last map was a butt-clenching experience. We're immediately met with the roar of multiple cyber demons within a burning, hellish canyon environment, and attempting to avoid the opener brutes by running around the pillar finds you quickly getting turned to ash by easily over 100 imps and a few archviles for added spice. This arena-driven map soon awards you with a BFG, which at first seems great, until you find that picking it up sent an endless horde of revenants your way. The map progresses in much the same way like this, pitting more cyber demons, revenants, mancubi and archviles against you, until you finally collect the blue key and can return to the start of the map. If you manage to fight or run your way past the Caco and Pain Elemental Cloud, all that's left between you and freedom is one more measly cyber demon. This map was classic slaughter, and although exceptionally hard, there were no points that felt insurmountable. So long as you quicken your quick save shortcut, you'll push through eventually. I've given this map a 9 in difficulty, only because I know it's coming up in a couple of maps' time. For the style, I've put this neatly in the slaughter category. The third map I taste tested was Reflection of Evil by SleepyHead LBP, aka Katie Burn. Katie's map may lead you to believe it's in the wrong category, as we start off with a classic tech-based style. They send the Doomguy running between rooms, hunting cards and progressing deeper into the base until about halfway through, where we're transported to a hellish base heavy on stonework, lava and infernal signs. This portion of the map takes on a familiar progression as we come to realise it's a reflection of the original tech base we were in. After slaughtering the host of hellish creations with the majority of Doomguy's arsenal, we find ourselves in a final arena waiting for the exit to be revealed while hosts of monsters continually portal in. Reflection of Evil was a nicely balanced map, and I'd sit it right at the midway point in difficulty with about a 5 out of 10. This map definitely had more of a classic Doom style to it, focusing on more solid map design than gimmicks or tricks. Eyrie of MaleBolge comes next, a creation by Gustavus Adolphus. Admittedly, I had a lot of trouble with this map. I spent the first 10 or 15 minutes trying out different routes and desperately trying to find something more substantial than the shotgun to fend off the endless host of beasts which seemed desperate to tear me to pieces. Much of the map takes place in this stone-lined outdoor environment with several wooden interior, wooden stone dugouts filled with even more nasties inside. After struggling with this map for some time, I eventually found a saving grace by way of a rocket launcher, which quickly made this experience more painful for the monsters than me. Even still, I found I needed careful resource management and lots of attempts to slog my way through the MaleBolge. And as much as I appreciate the map design itself, I was glad to put my back to it. This map will call out to those who want to prove themselves triumphant against many dangerous encounters with few resources. I put the difficulty of this map up to an 8, artificially increased by a lack of sort of high-tier weapons until later in the map. This map is very much a classic style of map. Next up is Demon Arena by Sean, A welcome change of pace. Demon Arena begins in a small enclosure and quickly folds out into a large arena filled with a full host of non-boss monsters from Doom. You're progressively armed with more powerful weapons as the arena expands, from one challenge to the next, arming you well to take on the worst that Hell has to offer, culminating in a face-off against a duo of Hell Priests before allowing you to leave. In spite of me dying multiple times on the twin vials, I'd give this map a difficulty of 4. This map would cater to those who enjoy more of a classic experience. Oh boy. The next on the roster is the Cleansing of Hell by Epic YOLO Master 420. Immediately you may notice the monster count of this map reaches the 4,000 mark. Any sane person would turn around and pick up a more reasonable map just by looking at that count, so naturally I ran headfirst into the experience. And what an experience it was. I thought I was breaching my limit, tackling Hiron's Too Far Gone just a few maps back, but this was another level altogether. Epic YOLO Master wants you to know straight from the beginning that you are in hell. From this very first step you take across the intestine-slathered floors onto the hell-cracked stone stairway, you know you are deep in the Inferno. And hey, you have a job to do, so best get cleaning. I had to tackle this map in 2 sessions because by the time I battered my way through the first 2,000 monsters, I'd been playing for over an hour. The first area alone set you up against maybe 8 to 12 cyber demons. I lost count because when I killed one, more would just spawn in. At least they were locked behind a cage. On top of that was an absolute menagerie of cacodemons, arachnotrons, Mancubi and revenants. After you take those beasts out and decide to platform down to the next area, the map decides that you've warmed up enough and throws endless waves of monsters your way. You're well armed from the get-go and ammunition is thankfully plentiful, so all you need to do is make sure you don't get stuck in the crowd. Luckily, the arenas are well designed enough, so in nearly all circumstances you can weave your way past the hordes and continue micro-dodging until you're out of ammo and have to pivot back to the other end. A particular highlight for me was the area which added onto the slaughter experience by including both crushes and damaging floors. Why go through all this agony, you might ask? Because there's a certain feeling you get when you've just dropped the last stray cacodemon after wading through 4,000 monsters and everything falls quiet, and you just get to stop for a moment and survey the carnage you've wrought. Hell has been cleansed. Difficulty is a 10 out of 10 for this one. Epic YOLO Master asked Doomguy, "What do you want?" and Doomguy just said yes. This map is slaughter through and through. A nice change of pace, Respire by Heretic678 offers a darker view of hell to the player. The monster count of 222 would have made me sweat, except I just came from the slaughter experience of the Cleansing of Hell. This map starts with a flickering, dark, skin-lined room with the rarely used stealth monsters, often a controversial choice when making maps in UDMF. However, they were used tastefully here, just throwing several of them at you through the map to remind you that you should always be on your toes. The map makes use of some portal trickery to throw you off and then quickly opens up into a lava-filled arena with some high-tier monsters to contend with. The danger continues as you worm your way through a blood-filled corridor to find the red key, only to have it snatched away from you at the last second as part of an ambush by hordes of Hell's hosts. A Spider Mastermind and Cyberdemon both make an appearance at this point, but you're well prepared as you're given a BFG to counter this. Finally, you leap down into a hellish pit and find your way to freedom from the chaos. This map lands on about a 6 for difficulty. It certainly throws plenty of dangers your way, but gives you plenty of tools to counter them. For styling, I'd call this one UDMF as it employs things like stealth monsters which aren't available in the classic experience. Next up is I Want to Be a Field Day for the Demons So They Can by Thatwenguy. This map is short and explosive. You may see that 290-ish monster count in the corner there. All of those monsters appear in this one square, so get ready to be very sore very quick. Luckily there's plenty of soul spheres and megaspheres to keep your health topped up, but balancing staying alive and not picking them all up too quickly becomes slightly challenging. I'd say this entire map is quite doable in spite of the chaos, except for when the cyber demons make their appearance. There's simply not enough space to reliably dodge the rockets. Luckily, once they're out of the way, you can slip past and bravely run away. Difficulty I'd put out a 7, and I'd categorize this as a micro-slaughter map. fast and furious, but over quickly. Doomguys Under Pressure by Andrew W. comes next, and this one returns more to the classic look and feel map style, starting you right in the middle of a hellish fortress filled with demons and daring you to escape in one piece. The first areas test your patience with the shotgun as you clear the scene. However, you're quickly awarded with a super shotgun as you progress, followed soon by the rest of Doomguy's arsenal. This makes cleaning up the end half of the map something of a breeze. Andrew even gives you a few Nazis to topple before the end, which is always nice. The map's final antagonists, by way of twin barons and an archvile, fail to hold you back more than several seconds as you blast your way through with a BFG, and for your efforts you're blessed with a megasphere just before the exit. I'd put difficulty at about a 3 out of 10 for this one, a nice relief after some of the intense encounters so far. This is a map style that would appeal to the classic enthusiasts. Next up is very much a bespoke experience by John L. Jets, aka BenderWaffles. Operation KTR starts you off in a beautifully detailed tech base with excellent use of OTEX and dynamic lights to give dark, foreboding atmosphere. You soon find yourself traversing into a hellish realm through yet another ill-imagined UAC teleport experiment. And you meet the antagonist of the map with some beautifully timed custom voice acting. As you push deeper into this dark domain, you're taunted, toyed with, and subjected to trickery by this unnamed antagonist, as without warning they send you to places which may be real or may be reflections of your darkest fears made manifest. I was particularly impressed by the instance which sent me suddenly swimming through a dark water-filled cave system. These transitions are impeccably timed and never get old. After progressing through the map, you face off against a final encounter in a hellish arena consisting of 2 cyberdemons and a smattering of cannon fodder. After defeating these threats, you're allowed to leave. The only thing that I can say I wish was added to this was that an actual boss face-off against the antagonist was included, but maybe I just have to wait and see if BenderWaffles expands on the map and fleshes it out. I can only hope. Difficulty is a 5, experience was UDMF heavy. Sumptorium comes next by River. This map starts in a brick-walled hellish chamber with a super shotgun dangled right before you in the middle of a lava pit. Make sure you grab this weapon because you'll need it to face off against the assortment of demons in the coming areas. We're soon presented with a small courtyard amidst a hellish forest with a somber gallows where a poor helpless soul still twitches. Pushing through this area, we're taken underground into winding lava tubes where mid-tier demons try to taste your flesh. You're given a rocket launcher at this point, but the rooms are tight and the monsters plentiful, so you must be extra careful using it here. After breaking through this area and removing an archvile from existence, you're teleported to a final room, which I had half expected more fighting to happen in, yet was surprised to find it simply held the exit. I expect more may have been planned from this map, but perhaps River ran out of time. Sumptorium was a 5 on difficulty. The tight areas made some of the combat a little bit intense, but otherwise it was not too overwhelming. This map style would appeal to those who like a classic experience. Next up is Temples Upon Temples by Meteor9, whose depiction of hell starts in a hellish cathedral before teleporting us out into the wide open ashen plains. We're quickly taken under the red rock with views out to the fiery mountainous background and what looks like the ruins of ancient buildings half unearthed. We're taken into a subterranean temple where we're accosted by revenants, but given an upgrade by way of a rocket launcher, before finally we're cast against an assortment of high-tier monsters which we must take out, while dancing around a central prison in which archviles reside. The final escape through the exit is guarded by 2 Baron brothers who are quickly dispatched. This map was fun and lighthearted, a welcome break from some of the heavier maps in the Hell Crater. 5 out of 10 for difficulty, and this was a classic style map. The next map in our journey is the Lost Halls by Transformidablesoft. This map gave me Doom 2 vibes for some reason, possibly the adherence to the classic textures or just something about the map composition and monster choices. Our path out of here takes us through halls of brick and stone by blood pools and the impaled corpses of former humans, and even into some tech-based inspired rooms. The use of different textures and stylings does make the map feel a little bit disjointed and themeless, but it ties back together nicely at the end with these raising tiles leading us to the teleporter out. This map wasn't very punishing and a little bit short, at about a 3 of a 10 difficulty on the scale. It was definitely something of a classic style. Next up is Bloodletting by BouncingBlueSoul. Now I'm certain there's a map quite similar to this in one of the final Doom chapters, but I can't place exactly which map it is. It gives a strong TNT or Plutonia vibe to me for some reason, with the wooden texturing throughout, ample use of the cages and the bloodied lower reaches. We start off with the shotgun, and a quick jump down into the blood pools gives us some nice weapon upgrades early, with both a chain gun and a super shotgun easily accessible with a quick leap of faith or two. The map advances with a key hunt, with a couple of diversions to hunt down several of the 5 secrets, one of which awards you with the plasma rifle. We end up in what feels like a final arena in a blood pool with several mid-tier monsters and an invulnerability, but find that there's one final section just after this with several more revenants and other threats before you're allowed to leave. This one gave me a strong nostalgic feel and was quite fun to navigate. It wasn't without bite, but it wasn't unforgiving either, with a difficulty of 5 and felt strongly like the classic Final Doom experience. Next up, Smells Like Brimstone, Tastes Like Bone by TellyVision. A fun and oft-times challenging run through twin maze-like areas, both of which need to be navigated before accessing the exit. This map leans heavily into claustrophobic mazes and close quarters combat, and pretty much dares you to try and use the rocket launcher in these halls. There are some quite nasty traps to trigger, but fortunately some of the traps are for enemies rather than you. I have a special hatred for pain elementals, so being able to trap them under a crusher was very satisfying. Finally, we're able to jump across a few platforms to reach the final area, rise up a few lifts and make our way out. This map got me a couple of times, I won't lie. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for difficulty, and it's a classic styling. At the Heart of Corruption by AV86 is, in my opinion, a prime example of a well-designed, challenging map. We start off being enclosed in a cage in what appears to be a tech base where imps can take pot shots at us until we realise we need to shoot the switch to escape. Make sure you figure that out before you're wasting all your bullets or you'll starve in that cage. After freeing yourself, you'll find this map quickly expands out with hellish corruption as chasms appear in the floor, taking you to a lava-filled domain. Fight your way through it and head across to the other side of the map, where you'll see more lava and hellish encounters. The tech base in Hell environs are beautifully done, and the encounters feel claustrophobic by design, forcing you to make smart choices and tread carefully before progressing. After battling back and forth for some time, we're presented with the final area, which unloads a cyber demon and a host of monsters, but gives us invulnerability to offset the challenge. You're advised to take full use of the invulnerability to mop up the weaker threats so you can focus on the cyber demon without distraction, since he's stuck anyway. I actually ran out of ammo here and wasn't able to finish off the brute. I even had a couple cracks at punching him because he must have been really close to death, but ended up running past and taking the coward's way out. Difficulty 7, classic experience for this well-designed map. Hellish Horrors is a map by Mars or ModderofGames and hints at the bespoke nature of the map from the very first room with a custom helmet item granting 50 armor. We're soon sent through a twisted, sprawling map which makes use of what must be a good 60% of the classic Doom 2 textures, while throwing an expanded bestiary of monsters our way. It seems that about halfway through the map Mars decided on a direction because the game became very Nazi heavy with a lineup of monsters pulled from Wolfenstein 3D, including Hitler himself. Some of the bosses here are absolutely devastating, and it's fortunate supplies were plentiful because things would have gotten pretty dicey. The map ends up giving us 2 exit scenarios, the coward's way out or a marine's final stand. Of course I had to try the final stand, which ended up being as insane as expected, but turned out to be a damaging exit sector. Challenge 6 out of 10, and this was a custom style with new monsters and mechanics. We enter the Smoking Rooms next, a map by Dr. Nuriel, which really sounds like a good Bond villain to me. This map set us in a hellish tomb of some kind, overrun with demons. The architecture in this map was quite nice, and though it was quite small, it was fairly intense, squashing 100 monsters into these halls. The final ascent towards the exit unleashed an archvile on me, which proved to be quite the nuisance before I could finish it off and make it through the exit. It would be nice to see this map expanded a little bit with some extra encounters and trickery, but it was a good experience nonetheless. Difficulty was 6 out of 10, and it was a classic style map. Box by Thayoda feels a bit like it was an experiment of a map. Each room felt like the author was trying out different styles and getting a feel for what worked for them. It ended up feeling a little bit disjointed and random, but the overall experience was enjoyable until I came up to this room with brick walls and revenants. For some reason this room gave me so much trouble and I ended up dying multiple times just trying to get through it. I'm not sure if I was playing too late at night or if there was some quirk about the room design that just threw me off, but it really became a thorn in my side for some reason. I eventually pushed past it though and managed to push ahead. I even found a secret which had a friendly cyber demon in it, leading further to the assumption that Thayoda was definitely in an experimental mood when making this map. Pushing through to the end gives you a single Hell Knight to wrestle with at the exit switch, which by that time I had 1 hit point left, so it actually turned out to be more stressful than I thought. Difficulty of 5 and classic style map. Christian's Inferno by Stopsignes starts you off in what could be confused for an asphalt car park on Earth, but after digging through the complex somewhat, you're taken to an otherworldly hellish lava-themed area with an ancient chapel residing within. Inside, we deal with the congregation and the hellish priest and leap down the very unsafe hole into the ground to find the exit. This map was quite short and I think may have been made by a newer mapper, but the environments were solid and interesting, and I hope to see more from Stopsignes in the future. 3 out of 10 for difficulty, and despite the use of either 3D floors or a sector portal, I'd still class this as classic style. The next map on my list was Prison Broken by Strooder. This map's entrance image says that it's still a work in progress, but I gave it a whirl anyway. We're quickly presented with a rather nice hell fortress. The use of textures was a little bit all over the place and it felt like the author was getting a feel for the different styles. You can also see the way that Strooder started experimenting with concepts as you push your way through the map. There's a lot more verticality gets introduced along with some other nice concepts like monster closets. We end our journey in this prison in a courtyard facing off against a couple of hell barons and an arachnotron, which are quickly brought low, giving us access to the end. Difficulty 4, and this is a classic style map. After this, we make our way to My Worst Nightmare by BrettTheSlayer, or BrettTheSlayer. BrettTheSlayer introduces us to his worst imagining of hell, starting off with a haunting room filled with spectres and taunting faces all around, along with blinking lights and a fire blue floor. All in all, a very disorienting encounter. We're then presented with some information about how challenging the upcoming area will be, and are given a host of weapons including a custom Gatling laser locked away in a side room. All that's left to do afterwards is clean up the army of custom monsters in the giant rectangular main room. After taking them out, you're presented with one final cyber mastermind in a separate room before being granted the exit by way of a massive green nukage wall. Difficulty in this one is only a 2 out of 10 because we're given plenty of invulnerability to deal with the threats. This would fall under a custom style or experience. This next map, Blood City of the Damned, unfortunately didn't work properly for me, so I couldn't give it a good try. On entering the first room, we're presented with a whole bunch of text which is written up on the screen but unfortunately wouldn't go away. And we're given the 3 screens with menu options on them, however interacting with them didn't do anything for me. I did push on a little bit with the no-clip cheat to see if I could progress, and it did send me to an interesting tech base, followed by a fascinating, massive hellish canyon. However, with every interaction I made with anything, the screen was filled with writing and I couldn't really progress. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave this one unfinished for now. Hopefully it gets worked on further by the author because there was some interesting concepts in it I wouldn't mind seeing more of. I jumped into Catacombular Carnage next by Edgar. This map opens up into a fiery cavern with some low-tier hit scanner monsters to take out, as well as a couple of demons, and then pushes on to an outdoor hellish canyon where we're given a shotgun, but are also assaulted by more mid-tier monsters. After finding the blue key, we can enter the final brick catacomb area where we're attacked by more of Hell's army, while hunting for the yellow key. I found this map to be quite tight on ammunition around this point, and I was struggling until I found a Berserk Pack secret which helped even the playing field. The last hallway makes use of line portals in an interesting way to create something of an endless hallway. You have to be careful launching rockets down the hall because they'll reappear directly behind you. After taking out the final guardians, you can nip into a side passageway and hit the exit switch. Difficulty is 6, and style I'd give UDMF for the use of the line portal at the end. Animus Lamina by RiotEsper is a map I've already played as part of playtesting, but I played it through again for completeness. This map is beautifully designed with a tasteful melding of skin and steel, a combination that works really well in Doom. RiotEsper's detail work and clever lighting in each area makes mowing down Hell's hordes all the nicer experience, which is just as well because as you hunt for the keys in this map, you'll be put against some nasty resistance. The first key is guarded by an arena consisting of 3 increasingly dangerous waves of beasts, ending in a cyber demon attack. After dispatching this threat, you're taken down the opposite side of the base to deal with a similar wave-based arena, which ends in a showdown between Archviles and their minions. The 2 keys in hand, you can now return to the central area where the author reveals that they had another battle planned out but ran out of time to make it, and instead leaves us with a nice inspiring message. This map was challenging but fair. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 for difficulty. The map would appeal to those who enjoy UDMF style maps. Gore Tunnels is a treat of a map by Doom Revolver, consisting of delightfully gruesome texture choices and a semi-linear progression through this flesh-filled tunnel deep in the bowels of hell. Some means of progression are hidden behind sigil-esque shootable objects, however they're indicated pretty clearly so you're never in the dark about how to push ahead. I appreciate that the map winds its way along and takes you to the far end of these tunnels before pulling back and making you retrace your steps to open up new areas. Anytime Doom Revolver makes you backtrack, he ensures there's a fresh host of demonic flesh to empty your rounds into. The map progresses really well. The challenge level feels really stable. No one area stands out against another without, when pushing through, except possibly the end push, where you're given a BFG and a whole bunch of Mancubi and Revenants to push through. I admit it took me a couple of tries to get through this area, but I made it through in the end. Difficulty 6 out of 10. This map has some elements, such as reanimating corpses, that may appeal to UDMF enjoyers. The second last map in the Hellish Crater, Barbecued Baron Brick Oven Pizza by Caffeine Freak, truly felt like a shot of coffee reimagined into a map. The driving beat of the backing track pushes you onwards as you face off against large quantities of Hell's host. You're encouraged to play dangerously and force yourself forwards as the punchier weapons are smack bang in the middle of the throngs, and as you make progress more and more monsters become aware of your presence, forcing you to think fast and move quickly. There's a fun little fake out halfway through the map by the plasma rifle, which opens a few trick monster closets filled with health before punishing you for your luck. Finally, the descent before the exit switch cages you in what must be the barbecue plate itself, as the platform lowers and expunges multitudes of barons to deal with in close quarters. Clear these beasts out and you're home free. Difficulty 7 out of 10, classic style map. Finally, we come upon a late entry to the Hell Crater, Meat by Erky Perky. Similar to Animus Lamina, this map melts metal and flesh together in a disgustingly delicious treat for the eyes. As you battle your way through this complex filled with arachnotrons, hell knights, and no shortage of hit scanners, you're assaulted with the visage of intestinal tubes of meat being intermittently squeezed out of metallic sphincters in the ceiling, teeth-lined passageways, and rivers of blood intermingled with the analog mechanical imagery of fans and ducts. The pinkish orange tint to everything combined with this just makes you feel like you've got the meat sweats yourself as you're pushing yourself through the map. The resources in Meat are just enough to get by, and you'll find yourself starved for health as you get to the final encounter with the cyber demon and its host. Keep light on your feet and push through, and you'll make it through this experience in one piece. Difficulty is 7 out of 10. The glow effects and scripting make this a UDMF style map. And now we come to the end of the Hell Crater, and what an experience it was. As mentioned at the start, this is a project that brings together newcomers and mapping elites alike, so it's disingenuous to rate them against each other. Likewise, I won't give a favourite map. All I can do is encourage you to download Ramp and try these out for yourself. Enjoy someone's little slice of art in this massive project. Until next time, thanks for watching.